Gentlemen, you have my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
Quentin Tarantino is known for his explosive, stylized violence. Films where bullets fly, blood splashes, and brutality often borders on balletic. But in Django Unchained, it's a scene of restraint that strikes hardest. Rather than show us gore, Tarantino chooses implication and suggestion to craft one of his most disturbing moments, the death of D'Artagnan. Set in the heart of Calvin Candie's plantation, this unflinching sequence uses silence, tension, and camera control to pin the audience into a powerless position. It's here, by holding back, that Tarantino turns spectacle into psychology and takes Django Unchained from epic to masterpiece. Calvin Candie, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, doesn't just embody evil, he smiles through it. His first scene in Django Unchained is a showcase of his depravity. Seated in comfort, Candie watches two enslaved men fight to the death in a brutal form of fictional blood sport called mandingo fighting. He's not merely a spectator, he revels in the violence, treating it like a gentleman's pastime. This introduction is designed to make the audience recoil. It works, but it also misleads. Tarantino shocks us early, leading us to believe we've already seen the worst of Candie. But that's the trick. This initial act of cruelty disarms us. When the true horror unfolds later, we're not ready. Candie's evil isn't about chaos. It's about control, rationalization, and performance. He justifies cruelty as commerce, science, even necessity. That's what makes him so terrifying. He's not just a villain, he believes he's right. As Django and Dr. King Schultz near Calvin Candie's plantation, the tone of the film tightens. The journey transitions from expansive landscapes to dense, claustrophobic woods. Tarantino frames the convoy through narrow paths, boxed in by towering trees, visually signaling that neutral ground is far behind. They are now deep in enemy territory. The mood shifts from daring adventure to suffocating dread. Tension mounts not through dialogue, but through silence and subtle reactions. Candie's trackers look up in disbelief at Django, a black man on horseback, an unthinkable sight in their world. Feral barking echoes in the background, a sound that unsettles without explanation. Tarantino doesn't reveal the source immediately. Instead, he lets the noise linger, hinting at the violence to come. It's a masterful setup. By controlling the space and sound, he primes the audience to feel the unease before anything even happens. The horror is already in motion. When we finally see D'Artagnan, he's cornered, clinging to a tree with a pack of snarling dogs below. But it's how Tarantino reveals this image that makes it unforgettable. Instead of cutting to the dogs, the camera tilts downward in a continuous motion. This small choice eliminates any visual relief. A cut might have given us a breath, a moment to adjust. The tilt denies that. We're visually and emotionally trapped in the same space as Django and Schultz, unable to look away, unable to escape. This moment isn't about showing violence. It's about making the audience feel its inevitability. The camera locks us in, stripping us of control. The horror isn't just what's happening, it's that we can't stop watching it unfold. Tarantino isn't just filming a scene, he's staging an emotional trap. The tilt down the tree becomes a descent into helplessness, mirroring D'Artagnan's fate and the audience's. At the heart of this scene lies a 1-minute and 33-second unbroken take, one of Tarantino's most restrained and powerful cinematic moves. As Candie steps out of his carriage and walks toward D'Artagnan, the camera follows him without cutting. This uninterrupted movement locks the audience in real time, forcing us to witness the unfolding cruelty without escape. Every detail is deliberate. Candie steps through horse manure, a subtle metaphor exposing the filth behind his aristocratic facade. He is framed amidst his entourage, the carriage, the slaves, and Django, all elements converging to signal entrapment. The camera only moves when Candie does, only shifts when he dictates. He owns the scene, and the camera obeys him. This isn't just about staging, it's about dominance. Tarantino turns the lens into a servant of Candie's will, amplifying his control over both the characters and the audience. Even when he kneels to speak to D'Artagnan, the framing emphasizes imbalance. Candie backed by his men and dogs, D'Artagnan isolated in emptiness. There's no need for blood yet. The psychological violence is already overwhelming. Through this long take, Tarantino transforms the moment into a suffocating power play, cinematic tension at its most precise. As Candie lectures about his 500 investment in D'Artagnan, his tone shifts from calm to theatrical. The camera still won't cut. It follows him, tracks him, obeys him, until suddenly, it doesn't. Tarantino cuts on a critical line. So, what about my 500, huh? The spell is broken. Control begins to slip. Then, Tarantino crosses the 80 degrees rule. Candie, once looking left to right, now looks right to left.
What about my $500? You gonna reimburse me?
It's disorienting by design. This visual fracture mirrors a psychological one, a crack in Candie's composed cruelty. Dr. Schultz can't take it anymore. A slow zoom on his face reveals his unraveling. Moments earlier, he warned Django to stay in character. Now he's the one breaking. He offers to reimburse Candie. Tarantino punctuates it with a sudden snap zoom on Candie, jarring, sharp, like a record scratch. Power is shifting, and Candie feels it. Django steps in, cutting through the moment with calm defiance. The dolly shots stop. The camera goes still. The new stillness mirrors a new authority, Django's. Now, Django is framed like Candie once was, commanding, elevated, in control. In just a few lines, the scene flips. It's no longer about Candie's dominance. It's about Django's poise under pressure, a quiet, deadly retort. When Candie finally gives the order, send D'Artagnan to expletive heaven, the dogs are unleashed. But instead of showing the full attack, Tarantino pulls back. The violence happens mostly off-screen. We see a brief overhead shot of the dogs biting, but then, nothing. The rest is sound, screams, snarls, and the sickening crush of flesh. It's haunting. Tarantino, the master of stylized gore, withholds it here, and that's exactly why it hits so hard. By removing the spectacle, the director forces the audience to engage emotionally rather than viscerally. We're left alone with our imagination, which often paints a darker picture than any image could. More importantly, the camera focuses not on the action, but on the reactions, particularly Schultz. His face, shaken and disturbed, tells the real story. This isn't justice, it's cruelty, and it lingers. Even Django doesn't flinch. He holds Candie's stare, unfazed. This tells us everything about him. He's seen worse. He's been through worse. The psychological weight of this moment is what makes it unforgettable. Tarantino turns away from gore not out of mercy, but to amplify the emotional horror. It's not the brutality that breaks us, it's the silence around it. The convoy moves on. No fiery climax, no explosive standoff, just a slow return to motion, leaving the audience reeling. Tarantino doesn't end this scene with a bang, but with silence and the weight of what just happened. It's this restraint that transforms the moment from shocking to haunting. We stay with the characters, particularly Schultz, who carry the psychological scar long after the scene ends. This is the moment Schultz later flashes back to. It's the image that breaks him, not the bloodshed, but the helplessness. And for Django, it's a test of resolve, a confrontation with normalized horror that he must absorb and move past. Tarantino, known for excess, shows his greatest strength here by holding back. The decision not to show the full attack is his boldest move, and it pays off. It's in what we don't see that the film finds its most powerful truth. Violence remembered is violence relived. Do you think Tarantino's restraint in this scene makes it more powerful than his usual stylize? These are stylized violence.